Hey, how's it going? We're still reading through One Piece. Glad you could join. Last time, our crew came to Syrup Village in hopes of finding a boat. But what they actually found was a conspiracy to kill Kaya, the resident wealthy heiress, and claim all her inheritance money. The mastermind of this conspiracy is Captain Kuro of the Black Cat Pirates, a real snake in the grass who spent the last 3 years pretending to be Clawhador, Kaya's loyal butler. And weighing in for the anti-conspiracy, we have your hero and mine, Monkey D. Luffy, who's joined Usopp, a local youth, in the hopes of preventing a massacre. This time, everything goes wrong, for everybody. But the first to hop on the bad day train are our heroes. Things start out well enough. This narrow pass through the cliffs is the only way to get inland from the beach, and they've dropped an oil slick right in the middle of it. Plus, they're here early. Under these conditions, 4 people could easily hold the pass. But dawn breaks, and keeps breaking, with no sign of an invading pirate force. And it's not until Nami hears the distant yars and ars of far-off pirates that Usopp realizes his mistake. This island has 2 beaches, and they've picked the wrong one to defend, because the pirates have just landed on the North Beach. Now, to Usopp's credit, this beach is the one he overheard Kuro and Django scheming on, so it's not that foolish he assumed this is the beach they plan to invade from. Honestly, Nami's the one who should have known better. She parked their dinghies, and all the treasure loaded on them, on the unprotected North Beach. And now all that treasure is laying open and exposed in the middle of a pirate raid that she knew was coming. This is uncharacteristically careless of her, and the result is an absolute disaster. Fortunately, it's a small island and the North Beach isn't far from here. We're talking only minutes away. Luffy takes off like a rocket, and Usopp takes off like a second rocket. That's not as fast as the first rocket, but still really wants to protect its village from pirates. And Nami takes off like a rocket that got caught in its own oil slick. Which is to say, Nami didn't watch her footing, and now she is sliding down the hill. Zoro provides enough of a handhold to spare Nami from her own dramatic irony, but now he's stuck at the bottom of an oil-slicked slope while everyone else makes to defend the North Beach. It's a whole situation. And it only gets worse. To start, Usopp shows up first, which is alarming because Luffy should have beat him here easily. But what happened is Luffy got lost. Luffy heard go north, and in his mind, north is cold. So he's been running in whichever direction feels coldest to him. So he's gonna be a minute. Which sucks for Usopp, because his oil-slicked hill is still on the other beach, and diplomacy is not working against these guys. But just when it looks like Usopp is gonna have to actually, for real, fend off a mess of angry pirates all by himself, our girl Nami shows up. Nami is here to defend what's hers, and what's hers is all that treasure the Black Cat pirates are currently looting from her boat. She gives the thieves a stern dressing down before taking up her post, and I love the dynamic here between Nami and Usopp. Both of them are highly motivated, creative thinkers who are absolutely not suited for this kind of siege defense. Neither of them are really fighters, you know? Which is why, when they're forced into direct and unavoidable conflict, they both waste a lot of time arguing amongst themselves over which one of them is obligated to heroically save the other. It makes for great comedy. But, despite their wishes, they are the ones standing guard at the top of the hill when the raiders make their charge. So they're the ones who are gonna have to figure something out. And what they figure out is caltrops. Usopp has a bunch, don't ask how. And he and Nami start chucking spikes like their lives depended on it. It's a goofy defense, but it works. Nobody likes stepping on an iron spike. And we don't talk about this nearly enough, but Usopp is a crackerjack marksman. Just like his father Yasopp, he basically never misses. Usopp uses his own custom-made pellets, which he calls stars because, duh, star is a way better name than pellet, and Usopp's lead stars pack a wallop. Unfortunately, Nami soon makes 2 horrifying discoveries. First, the caltrops are behind them as well. Who put these here? Me? Nah, that doesn't add up. And second, their luck can't hold out forever. Despite the defenders' best efforts, the raiders eventually make it up the hill, and the tide quickly turns once combat becomes a hand-to-hand affair. A hammer blow to the head brings Usopp down in one, and Nami doesn't last much longer while attempting to defend him. Frankly, the only reason the raiders don't kill Usopp and Nami right there is their own hurry. From the bottom of the hill, Django is barking orders to get a move on, and the acting captain seems close to panic. These shenanigans have pushed the invasion behind schedule, and Django knows it is not a healthy life choice to leave Kuro waiting. He's got to get past these distractions before the boss grows impatient. As the pirates rush past him, Usopp still clings to the desperate hope of stopping the raid here on the beach, begging, pleading for the invaders not to massacre his people. The pirates don't listen. But that doesn't mean Usopp wasn't heard, because the rest of our crew has finally found the North Beach. The Black Cat pirates are experienced raiders, but if I haven't made this clear yet, Luffy and Zoro are monstrously, absurdly strong. Plus, getting lost has put them in a bad mood. The would-be pillagers are quite literally thrown back down the pass, and Django realizes something needs to be done. So he tries hypnotism. Django always tries hypnotism. Gathering his crew into a group huddle, Django tries a little group hypnosis. When he says, 1, 2, Django, the pirates will forget their wounds and become super strong berserk fighters. And you may be wondering, does this really work? And the answer is yes, obviously. Don't you know anything about hypnotism? Also, notice how Django covers his eyes with his hat to avoid hypnotizing himself this time. He can lock in when he really needs to. Thanks to the power of suggestion, the Black Cat pirates are back in action and stronger than ever. Zoro has Nami and Usopp retreat to safety, while he prepares to meet this new threat head-on. But that won't be necessary. Luffy, our feeble-minded protagonist, has also been caught in the hypnosis. And whatever shenanigans a supercharged crew of hypnotized pirates might have been planning no longer matters, because a supercharged, hypnotized Monkey D. Luffy takes each and every one of them out with his Gum Gatling attack. Remember, One Piece is a good story, so naturally, everyone names their attacks. Most of these attack names are hard to translate, because they're puns. But Luffy's attacks are a delightful exception. 9 times out of 10, it's a literal translation. So the Japanese name for Gum Gatling is Gum Gatling. There's also a fun logic to how Luffy names his attacks. Gum Pistol is his basic punch attack, so naturally, Gum Gatling is a rapid-fire barrage of punches. Gum Gatling will soon become a signature attack of Luffy's, so I think it's worth pointing out the first appearance is here in this fight. And Gatling isn't the only noteworthy debut. This fight will also see the first appearance of several other signature Gum attacks, and for trivia's sake, I'm going to point out all of them. The raiders are wiped out again. But Luffy doesn't stop there. He is out of his mind with hypnotism, and before anyone can react, Luffy has ripped the stem post right off of their boat and is swinging it around like a lunatic. Confronted with this new and exciting threat, Django realizes something needs to be done. So he tries hypnotism. Django always tries hypnotism. This time he puts Luffy to sleep with a quick 1, 2, Django, but the damage has been done. Django's crew and his boat are in shambles, and off in the distance, Syrup Village is less pillaged than ever. With no morning pirate raid crashing through the gate of her manor, Kaya is instead woken up the old-fashioned way, by her own bad dreams. She's haunted by the memory of Usopp's erratic behavior from yesterday, and she's still thinking about it when she discovers Mary. Mary is still on the floor in a pool of his own blood, but by some miracle, the good butler is only at death's door, not actually dead. Kaya is appalled to learn that Klahadore is actually a vicious imposter, and ashamed, in retrospect, for not believing Usopp's warnings. But there will be plenty of time for wallowing in despair later. For now, Kaya has got to put an end to this madness before anyone else gets hurt. If it's her fortune thereafter, they can have it. It's not worth the village. Hoping to find Klahadore before it's too late, Kaya throws on a coat and rushes out the door, where she soon runs across Carrot, Pepper, and Onion, who just a moment earlier spotted Klahadore heading towards the North Beach. Gathering her courage, Kaya follows after to confront him. Back on the beach, Django has one more trick up his sleeve. And no, it's not hypnotism this time. It's the two strongest members of the Black Cat crew, the dynamic duo Sham and Butchie, the Meow Band brothers. Ostensibly, Sham and Butchie's job is to stay back and guard the boat while the rest of the crew goes raiding. Considering the state of the stem post, I'd say they already failed that assignment in a big way. But maybe if they actually reach the top of this dang hill, they can redeem themselves. Despite their appearance, the Meow Band brothers make the best showing so far. Sham quickly relieves Zoro of 2 of his swords, which is, frankly, shameful for Zoro. Get it together, man. Because with only 1 blade against 2 opponents, Zoro is actually struggling for once. Now, Nami does make an attempt to get Zoro his swords back, but she isn't able to get past Django. His hypnotic rings are actually chakram. Ouch. All in all, things are starting to look pretty bad for our heroes when Kuro himself shows up and demands to know what the heck is taking the raid so long. Django, the Meow Band brothers, and the rest of Kuro's crew look genuinely terrified to see their captain in such a bad mood, and we quickly get to find out why. This man is a dyed-in-the-wool maniac. Brandishing his signature cat claw gloves, Kuro keeps things simple. They've all got 5 minutes to get this mess sorted, carry out the raid, and deliver Kaya's fortune to Kuro as planned, or he'll personally kill each and every one. As you might have noticed, in keeping with the cat theme, Kuro's weapon is indeed a pair of gloves with swords for fingers. They're even furry gloves. That's as terrible as it is great. But stay with me here. You may recall that Klahadore had a very particular visual quirk. Whenever his glasses slipped, which was often, he'd use his palms to adjust them. And now that we can see the kind of gloves he wears as Captain Kuro, we know why. Kuro developed this habit to avoid scratching his face with his big, ridiculous sword fingers. And that's a pretty fun reveal. It's not quite a clue. We weren't meant to deduce that Klahadore was really Kuro because of how he adjusted his glasses, but we were supposed to notice the detail and be curious about it. I believe this is the first instance of this in One Piece. A strange quirk shown in the first half of an adventure, but only explained by context during the later half of the adventure. This is basically conservation of detail, which is just a writing best practice, but the way Oda uses it adds a unique spin. Before they're understood, One Piece quirks are funny or whimsical, and after they're explained, they become dramatic. This will become a hallmark of One Piece stories, so keep an eye out for it. Once you know what to look for, you'll start to see it everywhere. Kuro's pep talk has given the Meow Band brothers quite a bit of motivation, but all that quiet menace has also given Nami the distraction she needed. She takes the opportunity to kick Zoro's swords back to him, and with 3 blades, 2 opponents aren't even a problem anymore. Zoro finishes them off with a 3-sword technique we haven't seen him use before, Tiger Hunt. Sham is down for good, but Butchie held on long enough for Django to hypnotize him, so for now he's still a problem, I guess. But hey, progress has been made, and Nami's not done. After kicking the swords to Zoro, Nami was also able to make a dash for Luffy, who's still napping off the effects of Django's hypnotism, and wakes him up by strategically stepping on his face. She's nearly hit by Django's chakram for her trouble, but luckily Luffy stands up so fast it hits him instead, which doesn't do much more than make him angry, but it is funny. What's less funny is Kaya, who's finally caught up to Kuro. After a quick confirmation that, yep, this is not the Klahadore she knows, and a quick apology to Usopp, who's out here doing his best despite being thrown under the proverbial bus, Kaya gets to business. She offers Kuro her fortune, straight up. He can take it and leave. But remember, Kuro isn't just after Kaya's money. He wants peace and quiet as well. And that means the raid on the town, Kaya's death at the hands of the invaders, and the phony Will leaving everything to him are all absolutely necessary and required parts of his 3-year retirement plan. Which means, sorry Kaya, but Kuro aims to take your money and stay. So Kaya pulls a gun on Kuro, but Kaya doesn't have it in her to pull the trigger. She drops the gun, and Luffy drops Kuro instead, with a rubber punch from all the way down at the bottom of the hill. While Kuro is flat on the ground and contemplating the life choices that led him to this moment, the Usopp pirates leap out from some nearby shrubbery to wail on his face for a bit. This is both hilarious and serves to raise the narrative tension, because these boys are clearly out of their depth and in danger. But Kuro is the man with a plan who keeps his eyes on the prize. And now that Luffy has clearly displayed a devil fruit power, murdering children will have to wait. Kuro resolves to kill Luffy on his own, and orders Django to handle Kaya, which, if you've forgotten, means hypnotizing her into writing a fake will before killing her. Kuro also orders Django to kill the Veggie Brats too, in case you were about to mistake his single-minded focus for kindness. Usopp is pretty much out from that sledgehammer blow he took to the head earlier, but he does have the presence of mind to order his crew to take Kaya to safety. They run off into the woods with Django in hot, call it a lukewarm pursuit. And now, suddenly, everyone finds themselves in an ironic reversal. Luffy and Zoro and everyone are now trying to get up the slope to protect Kaya, and Kuro and Butchie are now blocking the pass to keep them on the beach. And yes, Butchie is still here. It's okay if you forgot about him, so did most everyone else. Butchie has a quick tussle with Zoro, which he loses. And the fat cat has barely hit the ground before Zoro scoops up Usopp and heads off into the woods to save Kaya from Django. Kuro tries to stop them, of course, but Luffy is still here, still stretchy, and still very much in the way. Narratively, nothing else happens in this exchange, but this is the first time in the story we get to see Luffy's Gum Gum spear attack in action. And I promised I'd point these out, so make sure to write that down. We'll leave Luffy and Kuro to it for a bit while we check in on Kaya's escape into the woods. Onion, Carrot, and Pepper are initially quite confident. The woods are their turf, and they can melt away in these trees easy. But unfortunately, Django's chakram aren't just for hypnotism. He's got a real talent for tree cutting if the bottom ever falls out of this pirating career. And it isn't long before Kaya and the boys find themselves in real trouble. Back on the beach, Luffy and Kuro are still at it. There's some great choreography here. Luffy's zipping around and Kuro is T-posing menacingly, but narratively, nothing happens until Kuro finally lands a solid hit on Luffy. And nobody is happier to see this than the Black Cat Pirates. They've spent the entire morning getting beaten up and thrown around, and this feels like the momentum might finally be shifting in their favor. They start chanting Kuro's name in a fit of high spirits, and this sets Kuro off. Do these fools honestly not know what's going on? Is their grasp of his plan really that poor? He has been working tirelessly for the last 3 years to erase Captain Kuro, and now they're going to chant that name like it's something to do? The whole thing has him so upset he starts a flashback. Back to the day when he first decided Captain Kuro had to die. The idea came to Kuro while his crew were repelling yet another assault from the Marines. The third one that week, and that's too many, thought Kuro. This constant pursuit and attention was cramping his style. And the problem, of course, is that he had a price on his head that would never go away. So that night, Kuro took a small rowboat out to the Marine ship and set to the work of killing his reputation. He massacred the entire crew, save for one survivor who suffered only grievous wounds and a broken jaw. Do you recognize this bozo? It's Captain Morgan. Luffy punched him way back in Shellstown. I guess that makes this a double flashback. At Kuro's behest, then first mate Django hypnotized a random patsy into believing himself to be Kuro, and the lone survivor into thinking he was the man who captured him. When the Marines later executed the imposter, Kuro's name and reputation disappeared along with him, leaving Kuro, the real Kuro, free to pursue wealth and peace of mind. I imagine none of this comes as very much of a surprise to you, the reader. The bones of this story were already known, even if the precise details weren't. But this is the first Luffy has heard of any of this, and frankly, he's not impressed. In fact, he's so unimpressed that his very next move is to break the blades on Kuro's right glove with a big rock before smashing Kuro over the head with it. See, Luffy's a big dreamer, chasing the biggest dream out there. Luffy respects ambition, and from where he's standing right now, Kuro seems a remarkably unambitious man chasing a tepid dream. If you don't want a reputation, you shouldn't be a pirate. And that is about the last straw for Kuro. Today was supposed to be easy for him. At least, the morning was supposed to be easy. He was gonna kick back in Kaya's mansion while Django and the crew did all the dirty work. And it wasn't his plan to kill everyone until after all of that was concluded. But, well, this day has gone off the rails. And if Kuro is going to right this ship, then everyone on this beach has to die right now. The Black Cat Pirates seem genuinely surprised by this, which is kind of short-sighted of them, really. Kuro's been very clear about his plan to disappear. Of course, he's going to eliminate a boat full of witnesses who know his true identity. They do a little bit of pleading, but the last day of a 3-year scheme is a little late to change the script. And Kuro unleashes his ultimate technique, a trance state in which he moves faster than the eye can follow and attacks any target with indiscriminate bloodlust. His massacre machine, out of the bag. In English translations, Kuro's ultimate attack is a reference to the idiom, let the cat out of the bag, which is a bit of a stretch in this context. In Japanese, Kuro's ultimate attack is called shakushi, which literally translated means death ladle, and is a reference to the Japanese idiom nekumo shakushimo, which translates to something like even cats and ladles. In use, it basically means anything and everybody, which is, I think, a much better name for a cat-themed attack which hits everyone indiscriminately. If you're wondering just how we landed on death ladle, it's actually pretty slick. Oda, the author, started with shakushi, but he's swapped out the shi in shakushi with shi, the kanji for death. These are just the kinds of punny shenanigans you can get up to when kanji are in the mix. As a side note, I think it's interesting that puns like this one have to be read, as they're completely undetectable when spoken. Like clever panel layouts or splash pages, there's something unique to the comic book medium itself, and in this case, unique even to the original language as well. With the fight on the beach nearing its climax, let's shift our focus to the forest. And would you believe it? Django is trying hypnotism. Django always tries hypnotism. But Kaya has employed the radical technique of not opening her eyes. And honestly, Django has no idea how to circumvent this flawless defense of hers. While Kaya has Django flummoxed, the Usopp pirates are doing their best to defeat him. But listen, Django is a goof, but he's also an adult man, against whom 3 children and a sickly girl have, shall we say, a limited capacity for impact. Out of options, and with no escape in sight, Kaya agrees to write the will herself, in exchange for the lives of the children, which leaves only one piece of business left for Django. After all, the will's no good while Kaya's still alive. And now that the struggles on the beach and the forest are both nearing their respective climaxes, what's Nami up to? Nami, of course, slipped away to steal all of the Black Cat Pirate's treasure. And from her vantage point on the decks of the Bezin Black, that's the name of the ship, by the way, I don't think I mentioned it yet, she can see firsthand the carnage on the beach below. Moving faster than even his own eyes can follow, Kuro is slashing everything and everyone indiscriminately. Kuro is landing more hits on his own men than he is on Luffy, but seeing as his plan is to kill literally everyone, I guess that's just efficiency in action. Luffy, on the other hand, does not care for Kuro's methods. In Luffy's particular brand of piracy, also known in this house as the correct brand of piracy, a captain is supposed to care about their crew. Fortunately, Luffy is able to channel his displeasure into something constructive, namely snatching Kuro out of thin air and slamming him into the dirt. At the same time, in the forest, Zoro and Usopp have finally caught up with the rest, only to find Kaya moments away from death. On the beach, Kuro picks himself up. He's still got plenty of murder left in the tank, but Luffy grapples him the way only a rubber man can before he can slouch his way into a new frenzy. In the forest, Zoro slashes a branch, creating a clear line of sight for Usopp. While on the beach, Luffy pulls his head way back, and at the exact moment that Usopp's exploding star takes out Django, Kuro is felled by Luffy's Gum Bell. This is the third of Luffy's signature attacks to debut in this fight. While Gum Gatling is a flurry of punches, and Gum Spear is a high-powered double kick, Gum Bell is a devastating headbutt. I hope you've been writing all this down, because it will be on the quiz. With Kuro defeated, Luffy literally tosses him to the sea, flashing a heroic pose and giving us an "I'm gonna be king of the pirates" as the rabble flees. And as the Black Cat pirates climb over each other to escape on their damaged boat, Luffy takes the opportunity to have himself a wee little collapse from all the blood loss. Which is odd, normally Zoro is the blood loss guy. Luffy is soon joined by Nami, and they share a brief but meaningful conversation. From where Nami is sitting, the Black Cat pirates are completely normal pirates. But from Luffy's perspective, they're a disgrace, a complete betrayal of everything being a pirate is about. That's quite a difference of opinion, and a reminder that, though their goals may currently be aligned, Nami fundamentally does not yet understand her captain. Off in the forest, Usopp has an odd request in the aftermath of the day's events. No matter how you slice it, they're all heroes. Fought off a horde, prevented a murder, saved the village. It's hard to believe. And that's why Usopp would like everyone to keep all of this a secret. No one's going to believe the town liar saved the day, but even more importantly, the townsfolk are happy because they believe the pirates aren't coming, and Usopp doesn't want to shatter that peace of mind. Moved by his selfless request, Usopp's crew, and Kaya too, swear to secrecy. And so what could have been one of the most exciting and terrible days in the history of Syrup Village became just another boring day in Syrup Village. There was some minor fretting when Usopp failed to make his morning rounds, and a handful of kids were late for breakfast, but that was it. But that's not to say nothing has changed. Around noon, Usopp gathers Onion, Pepper, and Carrot, his loyal crew, one final time. He's leaving Syrup Village and going out to sea. He will become a pirate, a brave warrior of the seas, just like his father, and turn his wild tales into true stories. For Usopp, chasing this dream, despite the risk, is what it means to be a pirate. And so, for his final act as captain, Usopp swears his crew to each follow their own ambition, to write a novel, to become a carpenter, to run a tavern. And with each member now sworn to follow their dream, at the height of their glorious victory over Kuro's raiders, Usopp declares the Usopp Pirates disbanded. At the same time, our other pirate crew is thinking about heading out when they're approached by Kaya. Despite everything, she's feeling remarkably good. She chalks up her year-long illness as a prolonged case of the vapors brought on by the shock of her parents' death. And I guess the whole betrayal and murder attempt by Klahadore has helped shake her out of it. Rich people, huh? Go figure. In either case, Kaya has a parting gift for the town's secret heroes. A ship. A real one. A whole entire sailing vessel of their very own. And I gotta say, she's a real charmer. This is the Going Merry, a custom-made, chic-themed caravel, designed by Merry himself, fully stocked by Kaya herself, and now owned entirely by Luffy and crew themselves. If you're curious, a caravel is a type of ship the Portuguese and Spanish used during the Age of Exploration. Of course, One Piece takes place on a funky planet where neither Spain nor Portugal exist, so don't expect too much historical accuracy. You aren't going to find it here. But, in general terms, caravels were fast, maneuverable, and adept at sailing into the wind. They could handle the open ocean, but could also navigate a river, and they could be manned by a small number of people. In other words, the Merry is a perfect boat for our nascent crew of adventurers. So, against all odds, it looks like there was a boat to be found after all. And being free of charge, and fully stocked to boot, skips a lot of narrative overhead, so we can start adventuring immediately. And speaking of narrative overhead, here comes Usopp right now, rolling down the slope with a comically overstuffed backpack. Now that he's finally made the decision to leave, Usopp is wasting no time. He says goodbye to Kaya, who says she won't try to stop him. And Usopp tries to say farewell to Luffy and the others, but clearly he is not familiar with how Monkey D. Luffy does business. Eventually though, Usopp realizes he's been on the crew since probably sometime yesterday, and Usopp boards the Merry to take his place as the fourth member of Luffy's pirate crew. From the cliffs, Kaya watches the Merry sail farther and farther away. It's hard to lie, Kaya muses. She really did want to stop Usopp from leaving. As the Going Merry nears the horizon, Human Merry shares an old story with Kaya. Shortly after Usopp's father left to chase his dreams at sea, Usopp's mother fell ill. As her condition worsened, Usopp started repeating the same lie every day, that the pirates, his father, had returned to take them away. and he kept repeating this lie even after his mother passed, because hidden within that lie was Usopp's strongest desire. The moral of the story, as Mary sees it, is that sometimes you have to create your own hope. And Kaya reflects on how Usopp's lies created hope for her after she lost her parents, and picks a dream of her own to chase. She decides to become a doctor. And the next morning, on the outskirts of town, the former Usopp pirates prepare themselves for the day's work. They gather their courage, take a deep breath, and run into town, shouting, "The pirates are coming." Next time, Luffy dies